Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. If you're joining us for the first time, Talking Heads is a platform where experts who are invited by me come and have their own 30-minute show. During this show, they teach us something to help us be better personally or professionally. Today's expert presenter is Mr. Roland Friedl. Let's welcome him to the show. Hi, Roland.
Hello, Dr. Jacqueline. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you also. And Roland and I do a show together right before this one. We'd love to have you join us on the Mallorca Connection. So wherever you're watching us, just come an hour earlier and you'll have education, entertainment, motivation, and inspiration.
Absolutely. It's always fun.
Roland, I'm going to go backstage and produce the show. You have a fantastic time, and I look forward to hearing the fabulous content you're going to be sharing with our audience today.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Hello, wherever you're joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Roland Friedl. And maybe as you can recognize from my language, I'm not a native English speaker. I'm born and raised in Austria, a beautiful small country in the middle of Europe, for those who have never been to Europe. And yeah, my background is after school and university, I was studying in different universities and different topics because I was always very interested in learning and studying and connect with different cultures, different skills and people. I started a career in business and corporate world. Actually, it went very fast up, to be honest. I guess I was the youngest member of board of director of a huge company. Then I quit it after 3 years because I found out that I'm making a lot of money, but I was not really happy. I never was present. When I came home, I was so exhausted. I had no time for my kids. I actually was there, but not really present with them. So I changed my life. I left corporate world. I started building up my own companies. Most of them very successfully that I could sell. To be honest, 2 of them failed, which was the best that could ever happen to me, to be honest, because I learned so much out of it. Actually, since almost 3 decades, I'm also running a training company, a consulting company based in Switzerland, where we train and coach international big companies like OpenText, Xerox, Diebold Nixdorf, other big companies, but also we work together with startups. I'm very interested in helping out our startups. Right now, actually, a few hours ago, I had an interesting video conference with a new startup in Munich, an IT company. I'm very excited about that. Anyway, so here on Talking Heads, I started actually 4 episodes ago, a topic that's called performance under pressure. I think it's so important to talk about this, and you will see it on my slide decks. That the main issue of a human being is control of attention. When we start from there, because we are so challenged nowadays. Actually, everyone has experienced the pandemic and other challenges years ago. We're always distracted. We're always facing challenges, and the ones who survive or the ones who win and get better is because they know exactly how to control their attention. That is actually the prime issue. And I split this topic because it's so important in 12 different episodes. And actually, last time we have been talking about control of attention specifically. And today, I want to focus on the so-called negative content loop. And those of you who joined all the other sessions before and the other topics we had before this, they'll all know that I do this on 4 different stages, what's called the format system. By the way, you can Google that. I will talk about why it's important. What's the why? What's the reason to have a deeper look on it? What's the reason to study it and learn it and to master it at the end of the day. What is it exactly? What's about it? Sort of some facts about it. How you're handling it, sort of how, and then the future step, meaning what if I adapt this to make it work for me? So when you're ready, maybe you have a piece of paper and a pencil or whatever, you can also watch the recordings again if you missed something on YouTube. And to be honest, this topic cannot only be a game changer in your business, can also be a game changer in private life. But I strongly believe that most content that I deliver in business is also relates to private life and has some value in your private life. But let's start with the negative content loop. So first of all, why is it important to understand it and to master it? Well, the point is, whatever problems you're facing is, the first step to solve a problem is to realize that you're stuck. So you have to realize and recognize that you are in a problem. So most people don't get out of a problem, don't get out of a challenge, whatever, because they don't realize that they're in. Maybe they get used to it or whatever, or whatever it is. So the first step is you have to realize that you're stuck, that you're in a problem. That's the first step. You cannot change something when you don't know that you're in trouble, or when you don't recognize or realize that you're in trouble. So that's the first step of every healing process, but also of every problem-solving process. You have to realize that you have a problem, or you're in a problem, or that you're stuck, or one of your team members is stuck. That can be the same stuff. Okay, so that's why we have a deeper look on it to realize how we can fix it later. So what is a negative content loop? Well, first of all, it's a very unhelpful, self-reinforcing pattern of thinking and feeling that it's connecting. You think something, your inner voice or inner belief, and then this impacts or this causes a feeling, and mostly a negative feeling. So it is an unhelpful, self-reinforcing pattern of thinking and feeling in which negative perceptions of events or issues can also be drive negative emotional responses and unhelpful behaviors, which leads to a downward spiral. That's a negative content loop, a downward spiral, loss of perspective, and our attention became, as I said before, stuck. So I just repeat it. Okay, it's a very unhelpful, self-reinforcing pattern of thinking and feeling in which negative perceptions of events or issues drive negative emotional responses and unhelpful behaviors. And we will see in a few minutes later what these unhelpful and emotional responses are. And as I said before, this leads to a downward spiral. Yeah. One gives the other, and it goes downwards. And it actually ends up in a loss of perspective. So people feel that have a loss of perspective. They're not focused anymore. Yeah, they're not focused on the task, what they're doing, what they achieve. They're in this downward spiral, and have a very unhelpful behavior and thinking. So on all your attention became stuck. Absolutely stuck. That's what it's called, a negative content loop. So let's look at it. Get a little bit deeper. I want to show this graph that I used from Gazing Performance. Let's first of all on the negative content loop. So it's about leveling. It's about charging. It's about taking everything personal. And at the end is you're overwhelmed and stuck. So it starts with a negative perception. So you have a negative perception. You hear something, you see something, you don't have the facts. Maybe you don't are willing to ask for it, or you're not allowed to, or you afraid of asking because you didn't understand something clearly. So you start interpreting. Yeah, you have a negative perception, means you see something, you hear something, you get something, you start interpreting. You don't have the facts, you don't have clarity. So you start interpreting. You have your own view on it and your own thinking about it, and this leads to an emotional response. And I guess it's clear that it ends up in a negative emotional response, and this can lead to an overwhelming and stucking. And this leads to an unhelpful behavior. And this unhelpful behavior as you're not focused anymore on your task, as you're not focused anymore what you want to achieve, what you want to do, on your results. Yeah, you're stuck more. Then you see something that is related to it or something differently. You still have no facts. You see it as a proof of your negative perception. So you get another negative perception. You get another maybe stronger emotional response. You're stuck even more. You're more overwhelmed. Yeah. And you show even more unhelpful behaviors. And this is a downward spiral. It's a downward spiral. I give you an example from private life. Maybe you can rate it. And some people who follow my channels, they know that I'm a very open person, because trust building starts always first with yourself. You cannot expect that somebody else is trusting you when you don't start opening up. And I can give you an example, actually a private one, because it was a very it has a very deep impact in my life when I noticed this. I was always successful in business. I was always successful in life, even with all the traumas I had in my childhood and all the obstacles in my way. But I was always keep going. And also, to be honest, in my personal life, there were always girls around me, and I never was jealous. I didn't understand what is jealousy. Why are people jealous? I said, okay, when there's a reason to be jealous because your girl is cheating, that it's not worth. And when she's not cheating, why the fuck you're jealous? So I didn't understand this emotion jealousy. And you know what? One day, actually, to my second wife, actually, we hadn't been married at the time, and she came back home late from her work, and I guess she was out for a drink after work, and I was waiting at home. I was to be honest, I was pissed off, waiting by myself, being by myself. And you notice you're sitting home and you're pissed off, you're waiting, you're looking at a watch, and a minute becomes an hour, and this minute feels like an hour, and this hour feels like an whole night. You're sitting there, and finally she comes home, and you look out of the window and you see that she's brought home by a guy. And then something weird gets on in your head. Yeah, something weird. You don't know the situation, you don't ask her because you don't see it. She'll figure it out. And you make your own imaginations, you start interpreting, and by the hell, in a second, I was jealous. And this was a very strong emotion for me, because I didn't experience it before in my life. And at this time, I was 40 years old. Can you imagine? So it was my first time jealous. So I had an emotional response, and this was showed up by a very unhelpful behavior. My unhelpful behavior was I became aggressive. Yeah, to be sure. So to speak, how do you find out that you're in a negative content loop? Or how do you find out when you're leading a team in business or in sports or whatever you're doing, or maybe in a family member is stuck in a negative content loop? You see this by this person's reactions, and there are three ways of reacting. Some people get aggressive, like I was when I was stuck in this absolutely nonsense jealousy, because at the end it was nothing there. But anyway, aggressive. You get at risk. You have fear. Yeah. So you have anger. You get aggressive. Some people get very passive, meaning they can't cope what's happening. Can't cope. They get numb. They're shut down. I'll give you examples later. And other people are just under threat. They panic. They withdraw. They just escape. They run away from it. So maybe you can relate to one of these reactions, that you'll see yourself sometimes reacting this way when you are stuck in a negative content loop. And when you're honest, everyone is challenged. Everyone faces a negative content loop and sees him or herself in a negative content loop. We are all human beings. We are driven by emotions. Absolutely. We are not superhumans. Like myself, I train this, I consult people, but sometimes it still happens to me. The only advantage I have, I know the mechanism, and within a second or some minutes, I realize, oh, Roland, you're stuck, because I just check my reactions, my unhelpful behaviors, that I'm aggressive or passive, or I'm escaping. And by the way, I show all three in different occasions, and depending on by whom it is caused. So you will experience it. So maybe you relate to this. You said, okay, I was aggressive or I was passive and I was escaping. I said, oh yeah, the reason for that was I was stuck. I didn't have all the details. I didn't have clarity. I didn't speak about it. I didn't ask questions. I just was interpreting. I made my own picture of it. And to be honest, most of the time, it's not the real world because it's just your world. It's not the real world. So you're interpreting. This mostly goes in a negative way. And there's emotional response on it. And mostly it's a negative emotion, of course. And this leads because you're overwhelmed and stuck on unhelpful behavior. And I give you some examples. I will never forget this in 2010 or 2011. Yeah, I guess 11 years ago around. I did a sales management training in Mexico City in Spanish. And actually, it was I had 20 people in the room. It was quite a large room to handle, to be honest. The best salespersons of this company was invited by the company to have this training with me. I was there for 5 days. Very successful business guys. And what I did with them is I did an intelligence test about their IQ. And I always do this when I train more than 2 days, when it's a free 4 or 5 day training. I always do this IQ test in the middle of the training, most on the third day in the early mornings. People are quite exhausted after 2 days because when they join my trainings, they get a lot of homework and a lot of stuff to do. So my trainings are really challenging. And when you go on my website, you will see there on my website there always are this boxing gloves. I really spare my team and myself. We are sparing our clients to make them fit for marketing, to make them fit for the market, for the customers, and for the competitors. But anyway, so you can imagine 20 successful salespersons, and you tell them, you have to do an IQ test, and if you fail, I send you home because your boss told me that you're not going to continue the course. It's not worth spending the money on you. And what I did with the test, people are waiting there, and it was really 10 simple questions and 10 simple maths example, really easy stuff. But because I told them that they get in trouble when they fail the IQ test, that they again go home and not continue the training, was just bad for the reputation of the company. Most people get under stress. So I did this test for them. I was reading the questions, blah, 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 blah. I didn't repeat them, not too fast, but not too slow. And then I say, okay, that's done. Please write your name on it and finish. And then the reaction was during the test and after this was really, really amazing. Some people get aggressive, and that's why I call it aggressive. One of the salespersons was jumping on me, on my neck. He panicked totally. He went absolutely crazy. He went aggressive. I also had people that went absolutely passive. They are so under stress after the second or third question because they're just thinking about the right answer. Under stress, simple questions. They become passive. They don't say, okay, I didn't get question number 3. I continue with 4, 5, 6. No, they're stuck. They became passive. They put down their pen. They steer just on I don't know, on the piece of paper or against the wall. They became passive. And I also experienced people, I will never forget this, who just escaped out of the room. And I said, no, I don't do this shit. I'm this and this and this. I had this and this success in my life. I have this and this skill in the brain. Why should I do a IQ test? I just ran out of the room. So you will find all this. And when you run a company, you run a team, or when you're just a father or mother of kids, you will see this in your family, in your business, and you will also recognize this on your own behavior. Okay, so when somebody gets aggressive or somebody gets passive or escaping while doing a task, then you know that this person is on a negative content loop. This means that this person's labels or judges or whatever it is, something they read or they saw or they heard or experienced, they didn't have the clear facts, they don't have clarity, they didn't ask for the facts, they just start interpreting, making their own picture in their own world. And especially when you're in a bad mood, whatever time can happen, then you get a negative perception, and this causes, this negative perception, this inner talks you have, causes, as I said before, a negative emotional response. And this can lead to overwhelming or stuck. and then people show three. It's always one of these three. It's just to get aggressive against others. They're loud or really like the guy was jumping on my neck. I couldn't hardly breathe. Or they get passive. There's no chance for them to continue to work. They're just passive, absolute stuck, totally stuck, like frozen. Or they escape. They run away. They're escaping from whatever they should do. Okay. So this is the negative content. So how you are handling it? First of all, as I said, you have to recognize that you yourself or one of your members is stuck, and you notice this by this person is aggressive more than normally, or becomes passive or escaping. And I can tell you the next the next episode, on episode number 6, I will talk about what are the main pressure points, trigger points, why people stuck, why people end up in a negative content loop. So we do this in the next session. I can tell you in episode 6 and 7, we talk about mental strength. And then the other session, we're going to work on how to come back on task, what you need or your team members need to get back on task. But be a little bit patient. Today we focus on the negative content load. So guys and ladies who are joining here on USA Global TV, just stay open-minded and really be, especially when you lead a team and when somebody's not behaving like expected, have a look at it. Is this person too aggressive, or is this customer too aggressive? It can also be a customer, or is it your boss or your team member, or your supplier or a family member, or are they stuck at a passive? They're not continuing their work or what they're supposed to do, or they're just escaping out of the room, or then you know that they're stuck. And then you understand that this person has just a negative perception. That's all coming. It's not, so never ever take it personal when this happens. But what you know is this person is a negative perception that causes negative emotion, emotional response. And this causes when they're stuck, overwhelmed, it's too much for them, that they show this unhelpful behavior. But to be honest, this is really, I like this unhelpful behaviors. Well, I like it, but this is where you can take it as a starting point. When you see it, when you experience that somebody is negative, meaning aggressive, passive, or escaping, you'll know that this person is stuck. And then in the next session, you learn step by step how you can get out yourself when you're stuck, or you can help your team members to get out when you're stuck. Yes. So, whenever you want to get in contact with me, when you have this problem in your team, or it's your behaving and I stuck very often, to be honest. I'm overwhelmed, very honestly, I'm overwhelmed. It happens many times, and many times I'm in a negative content leap. I want to get out, but I don't know. And actually, follow this channel, but you can also contact me and my team. I'm more than happy to help you and your team out. This is really part of it, having a high performance team. It's so important that nobody's stuck. So really everybody is on track. Everybody is on task. But as we all know, and when you're a leader and yourself, we all know, we're all human beings, and it happens occasionally. It doesn't matter how well you're educated, how really you focused on your mental health, and you're really fit, and you also mental health. It happens time to time, because sometimes we are in a mood that we are more open to it, or more the chance is much higher that we have a negative perception. It's happening. To be honest, as I said, to me, it happens to me too. Occasionally, it happens to me too. But the advantage for me is I realize it, recognize it very soon, and then I know exactly how to get out of it. But it happens to me too. We're all distracted. And sometimes we realize, or we handle information not properly. We don't get the facts. We don't get clarity, and then we get overwhelmed, and then we judge or we label. And as I said before, in my private life, it would have with my jealousy. It was this same concept, the same routine. but I got out very early because of actually before my girlfriend entered the house, came the door in, I realized what's going on, and I said, okay, clarify it, talk to her, get the clarity, get the facts, have a clear conversation. And to be honest, most problems I see in companies, and I experience in companies, and I experience in my own world too, is its lack of communication. First of all, that we communicate at all, or we don't communicate properly. The same is here. Yeah, labeling, charging is because we don't communicate at all, or because we can't communicate properly to get all the facts and all the information that we have absolute clarity about any issue or event. About any issue and event, we need clarity. We need the facts, and when we have the facts, then we can deal with it, and we go back on task. And maybe we have to remove some obstacles on the way, but we are back on track. We're back on task. We are not stuck. We're not overwhelmed, because this is absolutely not helpful at all, especially in times like this that are more challenging every day, every week, every month. Okay, so last but not least, what if you want to adapt this to make it work for you and your team? Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, be patient. And the number one tip I can absolutely give you from my own experience, because I trained this many times for managers, and because you can use this on two levels, for yourself and for other people. But first of all, please, and believe me, before you start educating or training or even worse, therapying your team members on this, please work first on yourself. That's the most important thing. First, work on yourself. Because sometimes I say, oh, that's really cool, that's interesting. I have a team member here, I have a team member there, and I know exactly what they're doing. Please don't start educating or training or even with therapying your team members. Please don't do this. Work on yourself. You know what? The world is changing when you start changing. So work on yourself, because you are stuck too. You're overwhelmed 2 times per month. So first of all, do one by yourself. See one like I did it. Do one by yourself, and then teach one. Okay, start first with yourself. Make the experience. As I always said, and I said it in the show before, I guess one of the reasons why I'm successful in trainings and coaching, especially in coaching, is I went through all this negativity. I went through all this shit and all these failures, but I always stood up, and I never gave up, and I learned, and I trained myself, and I challenged myself to become a better version of myself every single day. So I can only give you this hint: start with yourself, and then you become more successful, and then help out your team members. But first of all, work on yourself. If you need support, you're more than welcome to contact me on my Wayne website. It's my name, rolandfriedl.com. Why I say my Wayne website, my experience is so broad, because I'm always learned a lot, I educated a lot, I experienced a lot. I was in different jobs and different positions. I had different companies. And so this is my main website. And from there, you can link whatever you need. You get to different websites. When you're a business leader, you're running an organization, you're running your own team as an executive, then you can link from there to our business website. This is called Partner Performance Systems. If you need individual coaching because you want to change something in your life, then you go to Wireless Life Rocks. And when you have other topics, then you go to their website. Yeah, last but not least, thank you so much for joining me. And the next show, as I said before, next talking head is about pressure points, what causes the negative content level can cause. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Great job, Roland. Thank you so much. I really was able to relate when you were talking about how some people become aggressive and other people become passive. And in reflecting over my own life before the pandemic, I did a lot of entertaining, a lot of parties, and also a lot of small gatherings. And I would love to play board games. Have you heard of the board game Scrabble?
Yes, I never played it, but I heard about it. Yes.
It was interesting because I've been playing it for years and years and years with my family, and I never really gave it a second thought. But you basically take these tiles that have letters on them, and you form words, and then other people form words attached to your words, and so on and so forth. And so anyway, the reason I bring this up is that I found that just bringing out the game itself and presenting it was a trigger for people. And almost like when you give people a quiz or a survey, and people started freaking out, or else they were like totally withdrawn. And I never saw this kind of reaction before, but I could see what was going on. They were automatically telling themselves, I'm not a good speller. I don't have a big vocabulary. I don't know many words. I'm going to make a fool of myself. And without saying anything, you see themselves descending into this negativity, and it's going over and over and over again. So something as simple as a board game can actually be a trigger for someone to go down a negative loop like that.
Absolutely. It happens every day. And you know what? I still have goosebumps. A friend of mine, a very good trainer too in the UK, and he told me a story. He's not only a business trainer, he's a mental trainer, and he's very engaged in how you call rugby, this rough game, and he's training rugby players on the mental side to stay focused, control of attention. And he told me that he was engaged to train on the rugby players, young guys, 12, 13, 14 years. And I still have goosebumps. And he told me, they brought all these guys from the UK to the Tuscany area to train them. And his part was, challenge them on the mental phase, because the most successful sports people are not those who are the brave, the best ones in the sports field. Their mental strength is so important. When it's really, when thousands or 100,000 or millions of people are watching in a stadium or on TV, and you have to do this run or this shot or whatever it is. So then you're really under pressure, So he trained these guys on this metal, and they did this IQ test with these boys. And he told me, there was one boy, red hair and ears like this, and he was from a very, very lower class, and he was totally stuck. And his behavior was passive. He didn't write a note from the test. Nothing, not one single answer. And after the test, by the way, after the test, we always say, hey, it was just a game. It's just about that I see, and for example, and foremostly that you realize how you behave under stress. That's why we do this test. So after the test, when I say, okay, it's all done, then we tell them, okay, there's no boss is going to fire you. You can, of course, continue the training. We just did it, that you experience how you behave under stress. That's all about. They're learning about it. And so my friend went to this boy, I guess it was 12 or 14 years old, said, what is that? And I said, and he explained to him, he was crying in tears and said, you know what? I'm not very clever in school. I don't have good grades, but I always wanted to become a rugby player. And this is the only chance in my life to this. And I said, okay, with this IQ test, I know that I'm not very clever. I will fail. And then my dream is like a bubble and it's away. And I'm done. So he was so under stress, he was so overwhelmed that he couldn't continue. He just went passive, and this happens many times, especially to kids too. Especially when you, for example, when you're listening, you're in education, kids, be even more aware about this.
Great point. Thank you so much. And we do have a comment from someone. Andre Holland, thank you for your time and experience.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for the comment, and thanks for watching. All right, Roland, as we close out the show, I'm going to spotlight you one more time just to share with our audience about the new men's show and what they can expect to experience during this whole programming with these wonderful men who'll be joining you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, with all this background in business and training and coaching and consulting, mostly I was working together with men, with executive, mostly they're men. And we're men, we're very competitive, and like myself, and I was trained, not to show emotions, not cry when you heard something or whatever. So we are really trained away our emotions, more or less. And I found this out not only by myself, but also in when I communicate with my executive clients, not in a group, because men are too competitive a group. They never open up. When you're face to face, when I trust me, I tell them my story. They tell them they tell me their stories. Sorry for that. And I found out, there are many men who have really troubles in recognizing their emotions, being aware of their emotions, even understand their emotions, express their emotions to other ones, especially to their wives and loved ones. So I started around 2.5 years ago, I guess, a platform for men, helping them out. And then there was the idea, you, Jacqueline, to bring this on TV, on show, because that's all about here on USA Global TV. And that's why I'm on this platform, and I'm not only a fan of it, I'm absolutely excited, and whatever I can do and support this platform, because I love it so much. It's all about connecting and caring and sharing. So that's why we bring this man show. It's a show by men, for men, about men, as you, Dr. Jacqueline, say. I learned this from you. We call it Wild at Heart. Why Wild at Heart? Actually, Wild at Heart is a book title by a man called John Eldridge. He's a specialist on men's topics. So Wild at Heart, bonfire talks, and I call them real, authentic, uncut. So real men, like normal guys, real men, meet on a weekly base on the show, on the Wild Heart show, and we talk about, without any agenda, any script, uncensored, whatever comes up as a man. Maybe some deep stuff like emotions, or sometimes something that happens to us in our relationships, in our job, in our role as as a father, as a husband, as a lover, maybe on our sexuality, emotion, whatever it is. But it can also be topics like, I don't know, guys, should I shave or grow a hipster beard, or maybe I'm looking for a barber shop, or I don't know, should I buy an Tesla or stay with a V8 truck, whatever. So topics for men, about men, by men. So join us. And yeah, I guess we got a lot of fun, and because that's what men need. And actually, we did it thousands of years. In the evening we sit together on having a fireplace, and we've been talking about the day, we've talking about the next day, about what's happening, what we did, about anxieties, and we didn't do it for many years. So gentlemen, gents, boys out there, it's time to meet together. Men need men to talk about.
Outstanding. I'm wondering if one of the topics will be, should you grow a man bun or get the hair cut off? The man bun. I know a number of men did this during the pandemic, and it was kind of crazy.
Maybe I bring a t-shirt that I got from my barber shop.
Why not? Why not? That would be fun. It'd be fun. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Roland. This was another fabulous episode, and I'm really glad that you are just helping so many people out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It's always an honor, a pleasure to share my expertise with people. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look forward to chatting with you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Everyone, thank you for watching or listening. We're so glad that you're here. Our platform is providing entertainment, education, inspiration, and motivation. That's what we're here for. That's why we show up and do what it is we do. If you'd like to be part of our team, if you'd like to be a guest on our show, please go over to usaglobaltv.com. We are adding new people all the time. We are looking at new opportunities and growth and expansion, and we are open to your suggestions. You can provide your feedback, any suggestions you might have. You can do everything over on our website, usaglobaltv.com. We're signing off for today and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thanks again for being here. Thank you, Roland, and thanks to each and every one of you. Bye.